Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Uncinched. We're so excited to have you here today for an episode that we think a lot of horse folks really need to hear. Whether you're a seasoned show rider or you're just figuring out how to keep that one blanket from falling apart.
You might be asking yourself, what is today's topic? The title, Reality Check, doesn't really give you much to go on. In a world where the shiniest new saddle, the fanciest matchy-matchy sets, and designer saddle pads seem to rule the Instagram feeds, we want to hit pause and talk about what really matters.
We're going to dive into the financial realities of horse ownership, break down why it's totally okay and actually smart to stop shopping and doing more secondhand, patch that blanket, and pass on that 10 grand saddle if it means your horse gets another massage or a better farrier.
We'll also break down the true costs of horse life, so you don't feel pressured to keep up with the Joneses. We want you to feel empowered to choose what's right for you and your horse, not what's trending. Because at the end of the day, your horse doesn't care about your brand name saddle pad. They care about your kindness, your consistency, and of course, your love.
So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's unstitch what's happening in the horse world.
Okay, let's roll right into it, and let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. Equestrian sports are freaking expensive. Whether you're in the English or Western world, or somewhere in between, Winglish, as I like to call it. From feed to farrier, to vet care, to board and lessons, the expenses add up quickly. It's a sport that not only requires time and dedication, but significant financial investment and commitment just to meet the standard needs of your horse. Riding is already a high investment lifestyle, even without trying to keep up with the trends and flashy, papered out of the wazoo horses.
So let's talk about what's something we both felt. That creeping feeling like what you have isn't good enough. What you're doing isn't good enough. Where is that all coming from? Well, the simple answer is exterior pressures like social media. We are living in a time where outside influences are often curated feeds and not real. These all matching sets, expensive tack hauls, and flashy finished horses that seem to come out of thin air. It almost sets the standard in our brains that if you aren't riding in the latest and greatest custom saddles with brand new brand name breeches or flashy horses that you've had to spend a small fortune on, you're behind. These don't only make you feel like you don't have enough and your gear is not good enough, but they add to an already mounting financial pressure that you feel just in general with horses. So many riders feel they need the next best thing to be taken seriously. I've even heard people apologize for their tack not being nice enough, which I think is really sad and heartbreaking because success in this industry was never supposed to be measured in rhinestones or price tags or, the next best thing. It was about your connection and your built-in love of horses and your horsemanship, not the nicest things you have.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the truth. Flashy does not make good horseman or woman. Grit, patience, and kindness, those things do. So if you're out here in your old dusty, crusty old cowboy boots with thrifted tack and an average horse, we're here to tell you you're doing just fine. Your horse doesn't care if your saddle pad is from the newest limited edition Kylie Jenner drop.
Kendall, she's the horse rider. Come on.
Oh, yeah, Kendall, sorry.
I think.
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm not really keeping up with the Kardashians.
Bottom line is, your horse doesn't care or really have a concept of how much things cost. They don't know the difference between brand name or brand new and something that's secondhand or thrifted. What they care about is how you show up and how things fit. Your horse values leadership, consistent cues, patience, kindness, and time together is far more important than any aesthetic. At the end of the day, it's not the price tag that builds trust or connection. It's you. So if you're feeling the pressure to keep up with the trends, remember, your horse couldn't care less if it's trendy or expensive. All they care is that you're there, and that when you're there, they feel good.
So with that being said, when we try and normalize the second-handed budget-friendly options, how do we do that? What even options are there? And so we're going to give you just a few kind of areas that you can look. When we normalize second-handed budget-friendly options in the horse world, it helps us remove that strange stigma that still lingers around used gear. Like if it's not brand new or high-end, it's somehow less valuable. In reality, many horse owners thrive by outfitting their barns, tack rooms, and show kits through consignment stores, online marketplaces, and community swaps. In places like Calgary, we're lucky to have access to some fantastic consignment stores. Some that I would highly recommend you check out would be ones like Rein It In, The Tack Collector, or Frayed Knot in more the Olds area. They're all stocked with well-loved gear at a fraction of the price point that is still good. I think there's a misconception that the moment it's secondhand or it's budget-friendly, that it's poor quality. And that's just not the case. The other areas you can look for is platforms like Marketplace or Kijiji and local Facebook groups. They're often filled with hidden gems of people either getting out of the horse industry or they have too much tax, so they're giving it away to other people at a lower prices. And it's a great option for you to kind of look around. You have to be smart about it, and you have to make sure that you're looking and you are evaluating the price point of these things as well as their usefulness to you. You don't want to just be collecting
Junk.
Like a little dragon with your little treasures that you're never going to use. Mm-hmm. But these are great places to find high quality bridles and barn essentials that are sold by fellow horse people who simply want their gear to go to a good home or to make a little extra cash. Mm-hmm. There's also other options such as where people do like this community marketplace. I don't know if anybody's in the areas near Edmonton. They do have essentially this annual spring clean out where people can buy a booth and bring all their own used gear or stuff that they have that people can meander and look through and see if it's something that they want and they need, and they can trade and swap or buy.
I personally am a victim of Facebook Marketplace. And let me tell you,
state your name. You have to be like, hi, I'm Taya.
Yeah, to
I'm a personal
Addictions
victim.
Anonymous or whatever. But like, there's some gold that comes up on Marketplace, and sometimes it's people who like inherited stuff from their Uncle Bob, and they don't ride horses and they have great quality things, and it's amazing the quality of things that you can get that's secondhand. And also another thing, real horse people know what a pain in the butt brand new leather is.
Oh my gosh.
And there's nothing better than buying a really good quality used bridle or set of reins that have already been well taken care of and oiled, and they already have that like feel, instead of like buying brand new and like trying to get that. Like, it takes sometimes years for reins to feel like good reins.
Yeah.
So like, even though it's not brand new and someone has used it in the past, like, there's so much value in getting stuff that's been secondhand because it comes with a feel, or it already is conditioned.
Or a story.
Yeah, or a story.
Okay, with that, what's your best find on Marketplace? Because you've been a victim, so let's hear your story.
Ooh, I have to think about that. I've gotten quite a few sets of reins. Speaking of reins, I'm like always kind of looking for reins because I've bought brand new reins and I absolutely hate it. And I still have reins that are like years old, but I don't use them because
I used them the other day and I hated them.
Yeah.
I couldn't even been the
Yeah,
I was
they're-
like, how do I control
They're
this?
not the vibe, but like I found some like really nice single reins. There was this other bridle that I had for my horse Sir Galahad that it wasn't a Facebook Marketplace one. It was like my dad's friend, his uncle had horses or something, and he gave my dad a bunch of tack because he knew that his daughter rode horses. And Sir Galahad had a big giant head, but there was this bridle that actually fit him, and it was like old, but it was so cool because it was long. It had some like not horsehair fringe, but some sort of fringe on it, and it had these hand woven white and red rawhide things on it, and some silver on it, and like the silver had a patina on it, so you had to like clean it. But it was a really cool bridle, and it actually fit him. And most of the bridles that I had to find for him were like really basic draft horse size, and they weren't as, I mean, I know we're talking about not aesthetically pleasing stuff and how it doesn't matter, but sometimes you want to have something nice,
it's
right?
not saying that you can't have things that are nice. It's more just saying you don't have to have the latest trends, you know, and it's okay if it's not that.
Yeah.
So I have a fun story about finding something on Kijiji. So my grandfather used to only get like Emer saddles, and he had original Emer, like back in the day. I think he got them at an auction too, where it was like when Emer was kind of first starting. And I was very, very close with my grandfather. And so one of the things is I wanted to have like an Emer, kind of more of an original. So I was looking out for them, and I found one on Kijiji. I was like 17, 18 years old, and it was coming from a guy. I still remember his name is George, and he had a dude ranch. And so this was just a collector's piece. Nobody had ever rode in it other than maybe twice or something like that. And he just had it as a collector's piece, and he was selling off all of his stuff from the dude ranch because he didn't want it anymore. And it's the saddle, now it's older, but it was at that time, I think it was 30 years old, and there was only, I think it was 20 or 25 of that model that were ever made. And coolest saddle ever. So that was my coolest find. And he ended up also sending me a bridle and reins with it as like an added gift, because I was so young, and I had told him the story of like how my grandfather and all this stuff. And I like treasure that saddle. I don't ride with it very much anymore, simply because it's like a smaller fit. And my horse, if anybody has met my horse, he is not small. He's a big boy, small head, but everywhere else big beef. So I had to buy a new saddle, which then brings me to that point. I had to buy a new saddle, and I'm used to this thing that is like, it's been oiled, it's like a glove. And now I'm in this brand new saddle that I'm the only one who's ever rode in, because it was new, not just to me, but like in general. And I'm like, holy crap. Trying to turn out your feet.
You get that broomstick in there.
That's what I was like literally having to do, because I'm like, this is... And you don't move well in it, because you normally are like sitting down and you're like, oh, I can rotate. No, I can't hang on as easily. It's crazy.
No one talks about the squeak that a new saddle has.
They're so squeaky.
The only nice part is if you trail ride, like animals can hear you coming from a mile. It's like, or if like horses spook at squeaky saddles because they're like, what the heck?
They're like, why is this making this noise? And you're like, just accept it, it'll get better.
So secondhand saddles is arguably where it's at.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I like my saddle, but I'm just saying, having that broken in feel so much easier, because this can take years.
Leather. Yeah, totally. Totally.
Although I have to say the seat is better though, because it's like a little bit more plushy.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really sat in it yet. Yeah. So I can kind of mold that to your booty cheeks. I was gonna say behind, but booty cheeks.
Yeah, your butt print will be in there.
Everybody has their own specific butt print. Okay, it's very individual.
Yes, they do. Normalize booty cheeks.
And back onto the topic.
Back on track. And speaking of normalizing things, there is nothing wrong with having something older. It's just about, again, like your 30-year-old saddle. It was well taken care of. Mm-hmm. And when you, like, I consider a saddle as an investment. Yep. And, you know, if you want to pay a little bit extra money for a saddle, that's okay. But make sure that you are properly taking care of it and putting pride into your stuff instead of constantly upgrading. Again, it's an investment. And in order for that investment's value to stay high or close to what you purchased it for, it's really important that you properly take care and maintain your stuff, because there's nothing worse than tack malfunctions or stuff that breaks and falls apart. And at the end of the day, that comes to the user's ability to maintain and properly condition and take care of their tack and leather.
It's also
right?
dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous.
You know, like if you aren't taking care of your saddle and your cinches and stuff like that, things start to break and you don't do anything about it. You know, one day that string's going to break. Mm-hmm. And if all the other ones have already broken, you know, now your saddle's loose and shit can hit the fan real fast. Speaking from experience, that's why Taya's laughing. It was not my saddle, to be clear. I went on a ride in the Dominican. And it was a great ride, don't get me wrong, but it was there were some things. Yeah. And the gear broke on me, and so we had to makeshift some interesting situation. But yeah, so like those little things can add up for safety. And also, like Taya said, these things are expensive. It doesn't matter if you're getting a cheap saddle or an expensive saddle, they're still expensive. There's no such thing as like a $5 saddle. So you're just wasting money, because if you aren't taking care of it and you aren't maintaining it, well, now you have to buy a new one. And then you continually have to keep buying new ones if you don't maintain it. So you're actually
your
spending
money
way more in the long run and wasting it.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about taking pride in your stuff. Even if you didn't buy a $10,000 saddle, it's amazing what elbow grease and proper maintenance and care, how that can change a saddle's appearance. And it also, again, back to the like financial stuff, if you take good care of your stuff, it takes care of you back. And you know, just because your saddle has a broken latigo, or maybe it has a little scuff in the leather, it doesn't mean that it's not usable and that it's trash either. I think especially in this day and age, we're in such a high consumer rate where we like throw everything away as soon as it's not picture perfect or it's not like aesthetically pleasing. But at the end of the day, I think taking care of your stuff kind of avoids the waste of things, but then also being realistic with, okay, is this still usable? If it's not usable, is it replaceable? I don't have to completely get a new saddle if my latigo isn't working, right? Like,
well, obviously you do.
But you know, as long as your tree fits and your tree is not broken, you can replace the latigo, you can do all of those things, and you can upgrade your saddle. And at the end of the day, that's going to be less of a financial commitment versus, you know, buying a new saddle as soon as one piece of your saddle maybe isn't working as it used to. Wear and tear happens, crap happens. I mean, I had a horse break a horn off of my saddle not too long ago, so like
Patrick Star!
Shout out to Patrick. But like, again, I'm not completely throwing away that saddle. I'm looking at different options on how I can repair it and still use it. That saddle was a large investment for me, but you know, what are the options, and how can you be smart about your money but also not be wasteful and contribute to the growing waste problem I think that we have in our society?
Well, it's again tracking back to like fast fashion.
Yeah,
you know,
same thing.
We are seeing that at such a high volume of this cheap fashion that doesn't last, and you constantly have to replace. And I think it translates into other industries now, because I'd want to find the cheapest thing, and sometimes you do have to buy things that are going to cost you a bit more money because it has the quality you need.
Yeah,
you can't start just treating it like it's cheap.
Yeah.
When it's something that can last you if you treat it like it's gold.
Mm-hmm. And like, this isn't even talking about saddles. Blankets are another prime example too. Just because there's exceptions, but if your blanket has a tear, like, horses are dumb. My horses live out in a pasture where there's trees and sticks, and they always get caught. But if your blanket has a tear, it doesn't mean that it's not usable anymore. Take up sewing, or there's so many, even if you don't know how to sew, there's oftentimes businesses out there who will sew your blankets for you, or you can put a iron-on patch. There's nothing wrong with, repairing your stuff as it goes to save money and also make your stuff last a little bit longer. I mean, again, if it's not usable and your horse is wearing like strings, maybe it's time to throw the blanket away. But if your horse has a tear in the butt or a tear in the shoulder and it can be easily sewn, let's say it lasts you another season or lasts you to the end of the winter, that's better than throwing it away and buying a new one. Or even if you do buy a new one, I always have a million horses, and we live in Canada, and minus 30 is no stranger to us. So having that extra blanket, even though it's not, perfect, it's nice to have an extra too, and it's not a complete waste, right?
The other thing is, I see this sometimes in pastures where people will have blankets and they're like, oh, it just has a tear. But if you don't actually fix that tear, you're just going to make it worse. Yeah. Like, if you're just leaving it out in the elements, you're leaving it to get worse, you will have to buy a new blanket. Like, it's just like anything. If you play with something that has a small tear and you keep pushing at it, it's going to start to get bigger. So if you don't maintain it that way, where you're like, okay, I see this tear, I need to fix it so that it doesn't get worse, you're also playing a dangerous game on your own front, because now you're asking to pay more, because those little tears will get bigger when horses move, when they hit the tree. And like Taya said, sometimes you're just trying to get through the season, and that might be better option, because then you can hit the sale or whatever's going on, instead of being in the height of when it's expensive and buying. Yeah,
very true. And another thing to kind of like bring up on this theme is, sewing up rips and replacing spots on your saddle, your latigos, or whatever you want to call it. Don't look at it as cheap. I think it makes you more practical and actually connected to the original legacy of horsemanship. And that's about being resourceful. If you can sew or mend things yourself, or, see something and think, oh, I can use some leather, or I can put this together, I feel like that makes you a more well-rounded and horse person than just someone who sees a small, maybe flaw in something and just throws away something completely and buy something brand new.
I think it's important to note, with you talking about that resourcefulness, is the cowboys of back in the day who were riding, they didn't have big box retail stores that they could go see every weekend to get a new thing. They used what they had, and they used their hands to fix it. Sometimes they were in the back bushes for weeks, and if a latigo broke, they had to figure it out. And I'm not saying you have to be put in that position, but it is showing that it's not like they always had this consumerist view. They had to figure stuff out, and I don't think that's a bad thing for us to be more mindful of.
Yeah, and being realistic about what is really necessary and what is important. And that's going to look different for everybody. Like, some people, maybe you have a really fine hided horse, and having a rip in your horse's blanket is a no-go for you. Okay, sure, whatever. But maybe you're okay with replacing your latigo on your saddle, or you're replacing your stirrups, or whatever that looks like. It's going to look different for everybody, and it's just important to kind of sit with yourself and realize, okay, what is actually important here, and what can I realistically do with the skills that I have, or is this an opportunity for me to develop more skills,
and what works for me. Like, as an individual, not what I think it will work for other people.
Like, if you don't know how to sew,
it's not realistic to expect you to sew.
But, find someone who can, or practice and learn how to do it, right?
Talk to your grandma.
Yeah.
Most of them know how to sew. They had to do it when they were younger. Mine helps me hem my pants. I should really talk to her more about how to do it.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
Yeah.
But it's something like, try and take up the skill if you don't know how. And you don't have to, but these are just options on how to save money.
Yeah. This is kind of going down a rabbit hole now. But like, thinking about the era of our grandparents, they had so many practical skills in comparison to us. It's because normally it was the factor of money. They couldn't afford to go and buy.
Yeah, they had to.
They had to have those skills. And, you know, if you are in horses and you are maybe struggling financially or wanting to put your money in a little bit of a different place, you know, that $200 that goes towards buying that blanket your horse ripped, you know, that could be a $5 fix and it would last your horse the rest of the season. You know, these little things add up. And I feel like if we prioritize those skills that maybe aren't our first go-to, they actually end up saving us money in the long run. You know, it's easier, yes, to go out and buy a new blanket. I think that's where we kind of get into this. Yeah, convenience. It's easier to go and buy a new blanket. But when you're looking to where your money is going, maybe it's a little bit easier on your wallet to actually get out the old needle and thread and fix that blanket, right?
I also want to say, especially with trailers, this is like a huge thing. It's a hill I am willing to die on. Maintain your damn trailers. It's for safety. There's so many times I'll go on Kijiji and it's like, $5,000 trailer, the floor is falling out, but you can deal with it, it'll be fine. But those are huge investments. It's like a vehicle. If you're not cleaning it out, making sure it's managed, you're gonna waste so much money. And trailers are a safety hazard if they're not maintained. And I'm a big believer in cleaning out your trailer, washing it when you use it every time, not just because personally I find it kind of gross when it's just sitting there. That's just a personal thing. It's not on you. I have a little mild amount of OCD maybe. But it also helps you be able to see if there's something that's wrong in the trailer, because now you're just naturally in there and all of a sudden you're like, oh, is that screw coming out, or is this snagged somewhere, so that you can save your horse from getting hurt and all those type of things.
And fix issues while they're little versus when it's big.
Yeah,
too.
Absolutely.
I think that goes for a lot of stuff, you know. Maintain stuff as you go. Pay attention to everything. You don't have to have a brand new fancy trailer, just as long as you are taking care of your things. And that applies to your saddle, all your equipment, your trailers, your truck, everything. Like, it's all about maintenance and doing the maintenance when needed.
And preserving your investment. We've talked about kind of not being flashy, or if you want to be, being able to do it on a budget and making sure that you're not seeing the Instagram feeds and the curated life on TikTok or Facebook or wherever you're getting kind of your stimuli from the internet. And understanding that horses are expensive. So let's kind of discuss a general breakdown of horse ownership, because I think even people who are wanting to get into horses, maybe never have, how do I know how much I'm spending each year? And, you know, I always say the cheapest part of buying a horse is when you do the upfront cost of buying them, because it may feel like a lot up front where you're like, oh, I'm spending 10 or 20 grand on this. That's nothing compared to the annual costs that you're actually paying. So we're going to kind of talk about that. So what are some of the main general costs that you're going to see? If you're living in a city, if you don't have land, the first one you're going to encounter is boarding fees. The next thing that you have to think about is feed. If you have your own land, do you have hay? Do you need additional supplements or feed types? Same with boarding facilities. Obviously, vet care, farrier care, your tack, training, and depends what you're doing with your horse. If you're going to shows, the show entries, these are all just general maintenance costs of horse ownership. For example, let's talk about boarding. It really depends on where you live and what kind of boarding you're looking for. So naturally, if you're looking for pasture boarding, that's going to be your cheaper option. If you're looking for stalls, it's going to be more expensive. And the reason for this is because it requires more facility. It requires more work and maintenance on the part of the facility owners. It's going to cost more because it's more labor. Those are some things that are really important to consider whenever you're buying a horse, or if you're moving your horse to a different place or a facility. It also depends on the services that they can provide. If it's more serviced barn, it's going to be more money. If you have limited time, sometimes those services that are offered at facilities are a little bit more enticing and something that you need to use. But then be mindful that that cost is going to go up as well. On average, in areas closest to big cities or municipalities will cost more too. So your location, how far you're willing to drive, can also impact your price range and the accessibility to services.
And your gas and your mileage
exactly.
to get out there too.
I was going to say mileage is huge, whether it's for somebody providing a service or your own mileage. Are you using a big dually, double cheeked up truck?
Yeah.
Or are you using a compact hatchback like me?
Be
and
smart like
being
Britain.
mindful of how much you're spending on gas. Do you need to have that truck? Are you actually hauling all the time? Are you doing these things? Taya!
Need it.
Is it just for the aesthetic that you have this truck, or for the idea that I'm a cowboy or whatever you want to kind of mentality? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, is it what you need in that moment? Does it matter that you're spending that much more on gas? Because I'm happy in my little mini car. I spend quite small amounts. Like I think I spend $60 on gas, maybe a little more than that or less than, depending how much I'm going places. But I can go to Edmonton and back on basically a full tank, which is pretty sweet. And I know that Taya can't.
I can.
On $60 though?
No. But I can get there probably in a half a tank.
Oh, well, that's good.
Which is actually probably around $60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it works.
Diesel.
Oh, right.
Diesel.
You've got a diesel.
I did make a smart investment.
That's also, are you going for diesel versus gas? Like there's so many kind of complexities on how you can use your money effectively. And if you're looking at being this curated version of the world instead of what works best for you, you're going to have issues. Like if I have a truck, I'm not going to be driving it every day. I'm going to drive it when I'm hauling, and I use my little car when I'm not. You know, like it's those little things that you have to be willing to give and take. And if somebody truly cares that I'm driving a hatchback to the barn,
who cares?
They really need to get a life.
Yeah, literally.
It's not that big a deal that I have a hatchback. I could still ride a horse.
Yeah.
So those are some things. Sorry, a little rabbit hole-y there. But boarding, as I was saying, if you're kind of in the Calgary area, you're going to probably be seeing about minimum $500 a month in pasture board, unless it's private or some other deal is going on. But that's the price you're looking at monthly just to have your horse. The next thing is feed. You know, if you don't board, if you're just on your own land, are you haying? Do you have access to hay? How much do you have to pay for it? And quality really does matter, because if you have a higher quality hay, it's going to be more expensive. And knowing how much they need to eat. This is really important, because some horses are hard keepers, others are easy keepers. Shout out to Luce. He looks at hay and he goes,
he's been on a diet, actually. He's looking good.
I'm just saying he's an easy keeper. He looks at it and he thinks about gaining weight.
Another thing too, hay prices can actually quite dramatically fluctuate. Depending on drought, depending on weather, depending on how crop has yielded in that year. So one one year a round bale might cost you $150, but maybe the next year it's
$270.
Yeah, $270, $300, and that's not abnormal.
No.
So keep that in mind as well if you're purchasing your hay.
Yeah, there's massive fluctuations.
Yeah, and it's out of anybody's control. Even, fuel prices can impact the price of hay because it needs to be transported somewhere, right?
Yep.
So there's a ton of factors that can impact the price of your hay, and being, I think, aware of that is important, and being prepared for that is also important.
Yeah, being prepared for fluctuations. That's a really good point. I didn't even think to say. I appreciate you actually adding that in. It's kind of like that scarcity mindset of a supply and demand. If it's scarce resource, it's going to be more expensive. And if there's plenty, it's going to be cheaper. And if you, let's say, need to have a horse that is a hard keeper, so they need additional supplementation, or they're at a high performance level that they require just more calorie dense proteins, you're gonna probably having to get additional feeds and supplements. And if that's the case, your boarding facility is not paying for that typically, unless you're at a certain all service. But that's usually your own cost that you're eating. And even if it is provided by the boarding facility, it's an additional cost.
Yeah.
So, all right, how much is that going to look like?
Yeah, and that's going to change depending on what you feed.
And what time of year.
Yeah, what time of year, what quality, how much. Maybe you have to have 3 or 4 different supplements on your horse for whatever reason. If they're each, somewhere between $15 to $100 each, it adds up, and that's something that you should be considering in your monthly cost.
And you should be expecting an expense of a minimum of $150 on that if you're doing additional feeds.
Agreed. Yeah.
The next big thing that we think about is vet care. So obviously we all think about when things can go wrong. You should have a bit of a vet fund to make sure that in those situations, or finding a pet insurance, horse insurance, to help with minimizing the impact of emergencies. But I'm not even going to talk about emergencies because those can be so many different price points. But the upkeep of vet care, if you have a horse that's generally healthy, no real issues, you still need to pay for vaccines. You still need to pay for their teeth to be floated. You still have to pay for, if you're traveling, the Coggins tests. So if that's all you're paying for each year, you're still looking at about $450 a year just in vet bill. And if you have to haul in, it's going to be less. But if they come out to you, it's more because they're charging mileage, and depending how far you are. And keeping that in mind. And let's say you have a horse that is doing great, but they need injections or Previcox or any type of medication. Now you're also adding in a monthly or 6 month or whatever the period is, you're adding in another cost that you need to factor in to make sure that your horse is maintained.
And in emergencies too. Emergencies can really
rack up,
and they can really vary, kind of back on another rabbit hole, perhaps. I like to teach people and tell people, if your horse has a little cut or something that you can do at home, do it, and you can save money on that call out fee and on that vet fee. And I mean, obviously, if there's stuff that you don't feel comfortable with doctoring, yes, call your vet. But for little things here and there, it's amazing how much money you can save by, doctoring your horse yourself.
Being resourceful
again, yeah. Other emergencies like colic, for example. If your horse is colicking bad enough that it has to go into surgery,
that is exorbitant in expenses.
I think I've heard, knock on frickin' wood, I've never had to have a horse colic and go into surgery, but I think it's minimum $12,000.
Oh yeah.
And
just because of the sheer amount of anesthetic that you have to use, how you have to get them positioned, it's quite the situation.
So keeping those things in mind, and I also like to think, okay, if that's the cost of a colic surgery, and let's say my horse is prone to colicking, What are things that I can do as preventative in its feed and daily care and boarding that I can, maybe I'm paying a little bit more every month, but if that's avoiding a colic surgery.
Yeah, and minimizing the risk.
Yeah. All things to kind of consider, right? So
another thing that horses have to have done is farrier work. It doesn't matter if they're barefoot or shoed. Somebody's got to go out and make sure those feet are maintained. And I mean, some people do it themselves, which good on you. I'm not one of them. My back would hate me.
Yeah.
I'm already old man, so I don't need to add that pressure to myself. But it will also vary drastically on if you're shoeing or just barefoot trimming, because you're going to see on average, if you're just doing a trim and nothing exciting, you're going to see around $40 to $70 for each time, and that's usually every 4 to 6 weeks. Depends on the growth patterns of your horse. Mine's typically actually 6, almost 8 sometimes. In the winter, he just
doesn't grow any foot. Yeah,
which is great for me. But
some people's horses are growers, though.
Exactly, where they need it every 4 weeks. And if you have shoes, you have to be a little bit more consistent about it. You can't let it sit longer, whereas you could sometimes with barefoot, and that's going to be at least $150. And if you have specialty shoes to try and help with corrections or anything, that's going to up your cost way more.
Shit's expensive.
Now that we kind of talked about a little bit of that, now what are other things that we have to do for a horse? If we're riding, we got to get tack. If we're driving, we have to get harnesses. If we're using them in any way, we have to have halters and ropes and leads. These all cost money. So that, again, can vary quite drastically. If you're looking at, let's say, just trying to think of a brand name right now, Carhartt. Carhartt's going to be more expensive than just the generic lead rope or whatever.
Carhartt makes halters?
Yeah. I did see that, actually. They do make halters, which I thought was interesting.
Is it made out of, the Carhartt material?
I wasn't looking
canvas?
that closely. I think it is canvas, though. But I don't know.
Not talking about getting caught up in brands. Oh, Carhartt?
Yeah, now I'm like, okay, should I look this up? But anyways, things like that. Okay, what's another brand?
Weaver.
Oh, Weaver. Yeah, you're going to pay more for Weaver just simply because of the brand name. It doesn't mean that it's better. You're paying for the brand name regardless. Or Roper or anything like that. But yeah, that stuff costs money. If you have a young horse or a horse that isn't $1 million, can do anything, you're probably going to pay for training at some point. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're less than of a horse person because you didn't train your horse. I want to make that clear because I think that's a misconception all the time that I can rant on forever. But lessons costs money. Training costs money. And it can vary. And I'm going to give you over to the trainer who can talk more about that.
Okay. If you're new to the horse world, honestly, for everybody, there's nothing wrong, and I think it's so important to be consistently growing your knowledge. So let's say you have a good horse, but you want to continue riding and doing all those things. Working with a trainer is really important in developing your horse's skills and your own horsemanship. And if you're doing weekly lessons, important to know how much that costs. If your trainer that you're working with is in-house, great. That's not going to be any additional cost. But let's say you live rurally and you have to haul in to see a trainer. The truck, the trailer, the maintenance on that, the fuel to get to the trainer, your time, everything like that, that all costs money. So keep that in mind. Sending your horse to a trainer too costs money. And another thing to keep in mind too, and I am a trainer and this might be a little bit biased, but sometimes you get what you pay for too. Just because Billy Bob down the road only charges $600 a month in training and board, but Betty Lou, who lives maybe an hour away, she charges $1,200 or $2,000. Really keep in mind, especially if you're getting your colt started or something like that, that if you are going the cheaper route, be sure to like understand where that cost and money is going to, because sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yep.
So
just like shoes, like if you spend $10 on a pair of shoes or $100, doesn't mean they're the same pair of shoes.
Yeah, and that's not to say like if a trainer costs less money, I'm not saying that don't go to someone because they're cheaper. Like there's definitely people who undercharge for their value.
Absolutely.
But that's just another thing to kind of keep in the back of your mind is if you're sending your horse somewhere,
do your research.
And then when someone has their prices listed, be mindful that you are paying for years of experience.
Additional things that they may be doing behind the scenes, like they might be allowing grain into their budget, stuff like that.
And it costs money. So if you're getting a young horse and you're planning on sending it to training, talk to a couple different trainers or make sure that you understand where your money is going up front, because it's an investment. Sending your horse to training is an investment, and you want to make sure that that investment is going to pay off for the rest of that horse's life. So yeah.
The next thing is shows. If you're showing your horses, there's entry fees. You know, there's stalling overnight, fuel, transportation. You need to be aware of what you're actually spending. Oh, I'm going to go to this barrel race or this show jumping thing, and the entry fee's astronomical. The cost to get me there is astronomical. And I won $5. And
I got a ribbon.
Literally. And you're not seeing what might be value. If it's just for the experience, it's just to kind of, for the enjoyment, there's value in that. But if you're just doing it to do it, you're spending so much more money than if you just found other maybe shows that don't have a high entry fee or are closer to you and you have a higher chance of doing well at. But if you're just doing it because everybody else is going to that show,
and if you're financially struggling,
maybe not your best option.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do with your horse that don't involve competing and leaving the property and going places. And if you're in a spot in life where finances are tight, maybe you don't go to the show that season, and that's okay.
Let's not live on debt.
Yeah. The debt train ain't a fun one to be on. So, unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all formula, as I'm sure you guys are all gathering. You can try to create a skeleton plan, which is totally great, but as we said, costs are always fluctuating and changing based on so many factors. And again, every horse is an individual, and with that, certain things take priority over others. For example, maybe your horse has some lameness issues, and in order to solve that, it needs some special shoes. Well, that's going to cost more than a horse who doesn't. So you're going to have to adjust your budget in order to fit that need. Or another example, maybe you have a senior horse who needs some extra supplement in order to support and maintain its weight. So you're going to have to increase your budget in the feed department so that your horse maintains its weight and looks as best as you can possibly get it. Again, keep that in mind. Every horse is an individual, and your budgeting and your financial factors are all going to be based around that. I think also we touched on this earlier in the season, but in this day and age, with the overall rising costs to everything in life, and to those who are just wanting to get into horses, I feel it's super important to reiterate, horses are unpredictable and expensive. You know, you can budget, you can do everything to be financially scarce. And yes, it does add up, but at the end of the day, this is a really expensive hobby. So being prepared as best as you can within your means is so important. Having an emergency fund in case something happens to your horse or to you is never a bad idea.
If you're trying to be more mindful with your horsey expenses, and honestly, who isn't? We did create a digital product just for you. So it has a monthly expense tracker, an annual expense tracker, equine expenses planner, and logbook. It's designed to help equestrians keep tabs of where their money's going, from feed to farrier to rent or insurance fees. Whether you're budgeting for your next show season or you're trying to make sense of day-to-day costs, this tool is here to help you organize and stay realistic about your equine finances and understanding the amount of money you're bringing in and how much you're able to save. You can access it anytime through our link in our link tree, which is in our Instagram bio, or you can send us an email and we can send that to you. It's something that I think is really helpful for anybody. It's a small step that can make a huge difference in how empowered you feel about your financial decisions, as well as understanding where your money's going.
Okay. Now let's talk about what really matters most, and that's compassion. There's always going to be someone out there with a better means than you, but on the flip side, there's always going to be someone who's struggling more than you. Mm-hmm. So I feel it's super important to have compassion for both of those sides of that coin. You never know where someone has started, but you also never know where someone is going through. Oh, shit. You never know where someone has started, but you also never know what someone is going through. So, with that, I just want to respectfully stay in your lane and be kind to others, because you truly never know. Financial struggles are no joke. I think it's probably one of the most, not just in the horse community, but in general, it causes so much stress and anxiety. And it's just really important to be
very impactful on your life.
It is.
So when she means stay in your lane, she just kind of more means like, don't be rude.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be like, oh, look, they have a second hand. And if you are that person saying that, you need to find a better hobby.
Yeah. And this episode is
reality check.
Girl or dude or whoever.
Grow up.
No, but it's serious. If you are making
that big of a split decision and judgment on somebody for a moment in time, we've talked about this before. If somebody's seeing you in a moment of time that's weakness or whatever for you, and they have a judgment based on that, that's on them. They need to figure their shit out.
Yeah, and if you catch yourself, and this is a great reminder, learning opportunity. If you catch yourself being like, oh, she's not riding in her Gucci Uchi saddle pad. She's only riding in her Walmart saddle pad, or, whatever. Like, check yourself. You never know what that person is coming from. And the fact that they're there doing the thing.
And they'll grow.
Yeah.
And when it comes to gear, fit and safety should always come before flash and trends. The most important thing is that your saddle fits you and your horse so that it doesn't cause any issues. It's not about being the newest model or the most expensive brand on the market. A properly fitted saddle, for example, supports better movement, comfort, performance. It reduces risk of injury for both you and your horse. And these are more important than if it came with a really high price tag. The same goes for any helmet or boots or bridles or anything, really. They need to function well and keep you both safe, not just look good on Instagram. So if you're just looking for the aesthetic, you can be missing a crucial piece on what works for you and your horse and your discipline, and that's functional and safe and comfortable. Trends really do come and go, but safety and comfort should be a non-negotiable.
Horses don't care about material goods. Horses, unfortunately, don't even have a concept of currency. I wish they did.
Do you know how expensive you are? Actually, yes, I do.
Yeah, actually, yes, I do.
Let me pull up the tally.
Yeah. But all that they care about is how you treat them, and how they behave when you are around them is a direct reflection of that. A horse will be much happier in a good fitting $1,500 saddle versus in a poor fitting $8,000 one.
So let's celebrate the wins and celebrate the bond with our horse.
And why we're really doing this.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it ain't about the Instagram feeds. I mean, we love our Instagram pics, but it's about actually enjoying it. And if you're so stuck on just posting it and making sure people know that you have the latest and greatest.
Why are you actually doing this?
Yeah, do it for fun.
Yeah, and it's a lot of money to just be
posting on Instagram.
Okay, so again, we want to plug in that digital expense
tracker
that we had kind of curated for you guys. Even if, you know, you're doing okay in the financial boat, I'm jealous of you. It's just such a great way to, like, if you're a visual person, I feel like most of us are visual people, it's a great way to just see where money is going and just to build an awareness. And if you are struggling financially, laying it all out and having somewhere to put it, it allows you to start kind of, instead of drowning in anxiety and fear, it actually is a great step forward into, like, okay, visually seeing what's going on.
Where can I use my money best?
Yeah, and then it can kind of help you prioritize and gain a little bit more control back if that's something that you're going through. Again, that planner that Britain made it. I take zero credit for it because I do not know how to make any of those things, but it is like,
it's industrial.
It's industrial. It's pretty darn good. Please check it out. Try it out, because it is definitely a pretty incredible tool.
If you want to use it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But it's just a resource there for you.
We've shared our budget-friendly horse hacks with you today, but we want to invite you guys to share your own budget-friendly horse hacks as well to help support someone else. Maybe you're not in financial turmoil right now, but maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago you were, and there was something that was a total deal breaker for you that helped change your life and kept you in the sport. So if you have something like that, we want to really encourage you to maybe perhaps share that on our socials, and maybe we'll add that in one of our posts.
So we'll make a post and we'll also make a story on it, so that way it'll be that you can, like that ask sticker, that you can just write it in, and then we can keep it in a highlight so people can see it,
so you guys can see it too,
or comments. It's I want to make sure that we can do an anonymous version, just so that if you aren't wanting people to know that you've been in that situation, that's okay. On top of it, if you have like specific areas that you like Rein It In or Afraid Not,
or if you know another place that we haven't listed,
that's a secondhand or whatever, send it to us. We'd be happy to post it so people know. Again, this is a community, and if there's, I mean, two of us, we got big brains. But we can we're only limited to our own resources too, and part of this community is the beauty of it is what you guys also have to share too. So it's not just about you bring things to the table, you listen to us. That's its own thing.
That's just demonstration of patience and kindness right there.
Especially after the uncinched confessions.
Oh my God.
You came back, good job.
Frig. But again, please feel free to share, engage, and connect with us, because
we love the engagement.
Yeah, we do.
We're mostly friendly.
Yeah, mostly. Speaking of the uncinched confessions, you guys absolutely loved it, which honestly, I was listening to it and there's so many like facepalm moments, to be honest, where I'm like, God damn, like, what's funny is some of our stuff is scripted.
That one is not.
That one was completely like raw. We raw dogged the whole thing. And
we didn't even know what we were reading some of the time until we read it. We just kind of grouped the sections together.
And like, to be honest, as someone who's like kind of a control freak, I'm sure, Britton, you've gathered that I'm a little bit of a control freak. She's nah.
Neither of us are. We're like super chill, go with the flow.
No, we're not. Well, in some aspects maybe, but anyways, not in this one. That episode was like, it was a risk.
It was.
So the fact that you guys loved it honestly made my life, because it was a scary one to put out there.
It was off the cuff.
It was off the cuff, and that's a risk.
We didn't have any time to prepare, and we just said things and hoped for the best.
Yeah, and I was about prepared to be canceled. But you guys loved it, so crisis averted. So in honor of that, our teaser to our next episode, we got so many incredible confessions that we've decided to release in our next episode, the part 2 of Unsinged Confessions.
Yes.
So next episode drop is going to be Unsinged Confessions, Pet Peeves, part 2.
So enjoy our rambling. And please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss when the next episode gets released, because it is coming.
It's coming. It's coming down the pipe. And of course, if you guys want to stay connected to us between episodes, head on over to our socials. So that's Instagram, Facebook if you're old. Just kidding. I still use Facebook. There's going to be some old ladies who are like, or TikTok if you're 13 to
this
keep
part
up with
wasn't
us.
scripted, obviously.
No. Just if you guys want to keep up with us between episodes. Stampede has been crazy, so we haven't been super active on there, but
Yeah.
the plan is to be back in action, so
And be better than ever.
yeah.
Also, any of people who have come up to us during Stampede and went, I want to listen to your podcast, fucking love you. So thank you so much. There was so many people who went, I listened to this episode, you did so good. So we really appreciate the feedback. And we really do want to be your friend. So like,
if
feel
you see
free
us
to
in the
talk
wild,
to us. Yes, take pictures. Don't tell us we're there, and then like tag it, and then we'll be like, where'd you go? Yeah. Be a little crazy.
Yeah.
Bushwhack it. Anyways, we really enjoy doing this. Thank you so much for everybody who listens. We are still impressed that you guys do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been an awesome experience. Thank you so much. So please continue. And if you have any questions for us, we're always happy to try and answer it. I don't say it's going to be perfect, but we'll do our bestest. Or we'll find somebody who can.
Yeah. So if you get a call from us, you're someone who can.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Yes, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Unsinged.